Hello, everybody. We're getting fancy with technology once again over here. I am Angie Callen. Welcome back to No More Mondays, the podcast where we do believe you can have a thriving career, business, and life on your terms. This episode is brought to you by The Modern Coach, my platform for helping coaches do just that. If there is one thing that we have learned in almost 200 episodes of No More Mondays, it is how important core values are to ditching the Sunday scaries and looking at life as no more Mondays. If you're ready to grow with purpose, head on over to themoderncoach.co/core values and explore your core values as you start your business or grow your career. Now, time for today's guest. I am very excited about this because he lives at the intersection of community, curiosity, and connection. 3 words I love because I love people. Greg Wasserman is a warm introduction in human form. He's the guy who not only knows that somebody, but who wants to create a genuine connection that will help you succeed. And I can attest to that firsthand. From his days crushing sales at Yahoo to leading partnerships and community growth for startup, Greg's superpower has always been his ability to create authentic connections that lead to big opportunities. And if you listen to this program very often, you know that I love authenticity, connection, and big opportunities. So I am all ears. Greg Wasserman, welcome to No More Mondays.
I need you as my hype woman. Like, that's just amazing. Just the energy you bring. Oh, I can't wait to talk. Thank you
I'm
so
so
much for having
excited
me.
about this. So I want to kind of get right into it. Let's talk about, speaking of energy, let's talk about Greg the Warm introduction. Tell me more about what that means and kind of where that approach to life and business in the professional world even came from.
It comes from the playground back as a child. I mean, it's truly it, right? Like I was relatively smart. I was an athlete, but I was also the kind of person who my mother would love me to be, is the person that's friends with everyone. And because of that, you end up realizing, especially as you grow older, right? Friends start understanding different hobbies and items that they want to play with. And so I had one best friend. When you think about how do you choose your best friends, they probably live in proximity to you. So one of my best
Mhm.
friends, still near dear, like, he got into magic cards. So I'm like, great, in order to play with him, I'm going to go do magic cards. I had no clue. We joke about it years later, but the same kids that were doing the magic cards were also on the sports teams that I was playing with. So you start realizing, like, hold on, while sports brings us together, it's also, there's so much more to that. And I always wanted to be the person that said, hold on, how do we just, you're doing this, but you're doing this, but you guys have a lot in common. How do we bring people together? And to your point of, like, I just love people. Like, I think good people should know other good people, and we'll come across in our lives terrible people. And you're like, great, I don't need that energy. I'm not going to talk to you.
Mhm.
But good people, you want to bring them together. And that's literally what I've done from a career for the last 20 plus years.
I love that it's integral to who you are as a person, and even your strengths. Right? Is you found a way to make 6-year-old Greg have a profession that aligned with all of those kid-like things that so many of us end up losing over time. How did you maintain it?
It's a lot of work, but it's also personality. Like, I think, and you can probably accept this as part of who you are, but very few, they look at this as a superpower, which you come to terms and going, like, it is, because not everyone's used to that. You put me in a room, I just want to talk to everyone. Curiosity is one of my core values. And you put me in a room, it's going to be great. We had a conference recently, and our head of product was there for our company. And he's like, Greg, I'm drained. I'm like, oh my God, the more people I get to talk to, the more energized. Like, trying to go to bed is going to be really hard because you're just buzzing from the conversations, the connections, and everything else that you get to do. And for me, the way my brain has always processed is, I guess because I've worked in sales, part of a good
Mhm.
salesperson is listening, right? If I can
Oh,
get you talking more, then that's a good side for mine. So if I can get you to if I can understand what you're trying to do and dig into whatever your life is, the way my brain operates is not only how do I sell you whatever it is that I'm trying to sell you, but actually, if I don't have the solution for you, I want to be the person that comes to you and thinks about, how do I give you that solution? So my background's in media sales. So I was always trying to sell whatever the solution I had. But if I became friends with other sellers And I was able to get in a room with a buyer and say, look, I may not have the solution for you, but as I truly believe life is about time and relationships. So we all know that I will probably move on from this job and you'll probably move around from that job because we don't live in the day where 40 years in one company is the way we operate.
Yep.
So at least let's get to know each other and figure out, do we like each other? Can I actually understand what you are looking to accomplish? Because if I can't do it, I'm going to be honest. But I could save you the 100 emails saying, I'm going to go to my friends and go, look, I got Angie here. This is what she's looking for. Who can help her? And I'm only going to make the introduction if my friends are saying, yes, I can do that, as opposed to, oh yeah, I can do that, because every seller is going to be like, yeah, let me. And I'm like, no, because that looks bad on me. And so once you become the person that others look to for, you know what? I like Greg. He's got good things to say and he can help me, even if he's not the actual solution. That becomes your know, like, and trust that I've always wanted.
Oh, KLT. I talk about it all the time with my business clients. Also, side note, the world should watch out for the day that you and I are ever in the same physical room, because it's possible the room may implode from two people who love to make connections and love to work a room. I'm the same way as far as like the energy goes. And what I think is interesting, you said something that I often say and agree with, and I think it's an interesting thing as an extrovert to be a good listener, because usually we're pegged as the people who don't listen and just want to be the loudmouths and be heard. But that tends to be my MO when working a room, is to ask tons of questions so that I don't have to talk about myself, but then I start to understand who I am talking to and can make that genuine connection with them to understand how I can support, whether it's directly or indirectly. And it sounds like you kind of take the same MO.
It is. And if anyone watching, listening to this, you'll probably go, hold on. I've been in a room, or I've been where someone just keeps asking me, and it feels like an interview. Well, if it feels like an interview, maybe that's not a bad thing, because they're truly trying to ask you and understand. But at the same time, and I've had this conversation with other people, maybe you're just bad at asking questions yourself. So if it feels like an interview, then it could be you are taking whatever this person's giving you, but you're not volleying back. So they're going to just continue to ask you questions, because they're like, well, you didn't ask me anything. So I'm just going to keep asking questions because I'm curious. If you want to know about me, you'll ask. But otherwise, if you're going to be guarded, and it goes back to vulnerability, some people are going to be guarded and go, I don't know, this feels awkward. But also when you feel that a person's quote unquote selling, I've always never been I'm a seller. I always admit I can't sell ice to an Eskimo. I only want to sell what the Eskimo needs.
If I think the Eskimo needs the ice, I could sell it all day long. However, how often does an Eskimo need ice?
Right? Exactly. I don't know. Is that PC? Can I even say this anymore? I don't know.
I don't know. It's the swampland in Florida thing. But well, I would rather sell ice to Eskimos than sell swampland in Florida in the year 2025. Moving on. I agree with what you said, because something occurred to me that might be quotable. Maybe we'll throw it on in the notes. Rapport, to me, is the difference, right? If you are in a conversation that looks like a tennis match, you probably haven't taken the time to build the rapport that actually makes it an exchange where you're receiving information and leveraging that to continue the conversation, versus a back and forth. And I think that's the case whether you're actually in a job interview, something that could be a job interview, or trying to understand, how two people can work together and collaborate and connect.
100%. Couldn't say it better.
Mic drop. So related, but kind of an aside, I want to know about a memorable connection of yours. So do you have a connection that stands out in your mind that has just completely changed either your trajectory in work or life?
Ooh, that's a good one. I guess if I think about it, I've gotten most of my jobs have all come through connections. So I've never been one to be able to get a job from let me fill out a resume. If we go back to first job out of college, it was the recruiters that came on college, right? So I guess in that regards, they got to know me. It was a relationship that I was able to develop, and they saw whatever they saw in 22-year-old version of Greg, right? But then thereafter, my time with Yahoo, came through at the time, the girl I was dating, we all got let go from my first job, so I was unemployed. So it's like, all right, what am I going to do? And she's like, well, my coworker who turned down this job, who's now working with me, they must be hiring. So it made the connection. The interview side was all on me, but ultimately the door that was open was through a
Yep.
connection. And that's literally how it's been for the majority of my career. And if I look at like the last 3 or 4 jobs, I mean, I'm the head of relationships for RSS.com. I've chosen that title for the last 3 companies, and all 3 of those have come through relationships or social media in some regards.
Yep. We're going to pause here. And for any of you out there who are job seekers who may have heard me say one time or 100 that once you start networking, never stop, Greg is living, breathing, walking proof of why that is the case. And it is more important now than ever with the current market conditions to lean into real human connection, because we can open doors for each other that a computer cannot.
And that's why I believe A, I will always have a job, and B, the business of Greg as a relationship generator will be something that I can use for the next 30 years and not worry about AI going, you know what? AI is going to match Greg and Angie far better than Patrick being able to match you and I together, which is probably AI could do it, but it's never going to be as trustworthy as going,
Yeah.
you know what? Someone else vouch for you. I mean, you think about after we got introduced and then the introductions I made for you and the conversations we've had and just the doors that keep opening up, AI is not doing that. And that's where the relationship. And then I live on LinkedIn. I know you do as well.
Yes.
It's always boggles my mind when I come across the profiles that they don't have any post. I
Yep.
don't know really who they are. I've got their resume. That's about it in terms of what I can gather from them. And they don't feel like it's a platform that they need to because they're currently employed.
Mhm.
The problem is you don't know when the gauntlet's going to drop,
Bingo.
right? So always be network. And one of the best things that the same kid that I did the magic cards with, one of the smartest things he told me that I can walk away with is if a recruiter reaches out to you, even if you love your job, even if you're happy with it, take that recruiter's call. Control your
Yes.
excitement there, Angie. But take
Yes.
that recruiter call. Even if you have the worst experience with recruiters, they're still humans. You have no clue what one conversation is going to be compared to another with a recruiter. But take that because they're clearly reaching out and having your name in their database.
Yep.
Where's the harm in that?
You never know.
And they'll hopefully guide you of what they're looking for, which also helps you understand what skills do I need that they're looking for that either I should be skilling up or I don't care for this. This isn't for me.
Well, the reason I'm getting excited is because this is like everybody out there who gets to hear what Angie preaches from someone else's mouth. Maybe they'll actually listen. But fundamentally, there's so many little things there. First of all, I'm glad you brought AI to the table because I believe, just very succinctly, that AI is actually going to make real human connection even more important than it has been in the past. And we'll just leave it at that so this doesn't turn into an AI conversation, because I really want to dig into what you mentioned about like the response thing, because one of the number one complaints that we hear from job seekers is the lack of feedback and the presence of ghosting. Don't be the same on the other end, right? Even if recruiters ghost you, I don't care. Answer every single one of them, because you might not know what they have for you in the future. We get to be humans even when others are not, people. That is the new rise above bar, in my opinion.
And so I'm going to pull that thread even more. And I was having a conversation recently with someone about this. Actually, it was my therapist. Come to think about it. So the balance, I believe that life is about time and relationships. I have no clue where one conversation is going to lead. Therefore, if we take this recruiter thing, I don't know where that conversation with the recruiter will take me 5 years from now. If that recruiter is still A, in the business, or B, they got out of it and there's somewhere else that I could work with or network. It's a relationship that I can pull and leverage later on that I have no clue where the value of it is today. But the conversation I was having with my therapist was around how do we balance, and this is what I struggle with, but I truly believe there's value in it, the short-term transactional mindset versus the
Mm,
long-term benefits of a relationship. And what I mean here is I'm not looking for a job right now, so I'm not going to respond to this person, in this
yep.
case, recruiter, or someone's trying to sell me. I'm not going to respond to this because I don't have the time right now. There's only so many hours in the day. You know him as well as I do. My mentor, Rob Durant, a shout out. He's like, there's not 28 hours in a day. I don't have the time to answer
Yeah.
everything, but I make the time tomorrow. What is it? Friday of this week when we're recording this, whatever. My whole afternoon is dedicated to making intros, some of them for you. Is that going to benefit me? Am I going to get the transaction? Am I going to get the sale? Whatever the I need to cross this off my list item that
Mhm.
drives revenue, drives whatever today's need is. No, but the value of that is the long-term relationships, the long-term connections, and also being the guy that goes, you know what? Greg made this intro and there's value in that. And there's a lot
Mhm.
of people that live their lives in the transactional and they probably are
Yes.
making a lot more money than I've ever made, but I feel
Doesn't mean
really
they're
good.
happier.
Exactly. And I feel incredibly grateful that I get to be the one that gets to create those connections and be the time spent on doing
Mhm.
so.
There is an actual currency that is the karma bank. I fully believe that. And I think in this idea of making connections and kind of like what are you going to do for me land, if you want to be really genuine and authentic about this, you have to let go of immediate, instant gratification, because it could be years and years and years down the road. I mean, I'll tell you, just before you and I came on, Greg, I was bouncing around the living room, as you can imagine I may be, because I got an email from somebody who I talked to about an on-site facilitation gig a year ago, and it didn't happen. I've kept in touch with her, and now they have new year, new budget. And she's like, I think we're ready to go. So you just absolutely never know when something's going to come back. And if you let go of the need for this instant gratification that we all have nowadays, it can be a little bit more like, yeah, I'm going to make the connection. Who cares when and what does come back to me? But the karma bank says something will. Now, you brought up something that I actually wanted to talk about: driving revenue. So we've talked a lot about career opportunities through community and connection. I'm really curious from your perspective, how community drives revenue. I'd love an example and a little bit more thought on that.
Um, wow, that's a good one. Uh,
Mm,
I've been managing 3 different communities. I fell into community management partly because I'm the relationship guy. So you work for startups where they are the developer guys, or gals, I use it generically, but like you're the guy. So go do it. And I'm like, perfect. How do I go ahead and not think about community in the sense of a funnel? Um,
mm,
a funnel where I can let anyone into this community and I'm trying to funnel them into whatever my sale, whether it's a software, whether it's a coaching, whatever it may be that I'm trying to sell them into. I've always used community as a closed, you're already a customer of mine. How do I provide value to you? And so that's the retention side. But for me, it allows me to have one-on-one conversations with people. And I work for product-led growth companies. So I'm working with thousands of
mhm.
users. I can send emails all day, and this is never going to be able to have the one-on-one interaction I need. I'm never going to get to talk to them in the way. So if I've built my communities over Slack because I live in Slack.
Yep.
Companies I work for all are Slack. So that is where I've gone. But community in that regards becomes such an ROI focused piece because I am providing more value to the users. So they're finding the product. And this is what
Mhm.
I look. I mean, my LinkedIn says I'm a humanization specialist because I like to humanize companies. Product led growth companies tend to bring you in, get you signed up for the software, and then you move on, but you're already there and I'll give you whatever the software. I'm like, no, create a community so that I can have this one-on-one conversation. I can do trainings with them. I can get them talking, which is what I love in my communities. Part of the whole thing that everyone's like, Greg, how do you do this? I'll tag you. So if Angie came into my community and she said, I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to tag 5 other people, assuming I got 5 other people going, hey, Angie does similar to what you do, or she's in the Denver area, or whatever it is. So you've got more connection
Yeah.
so you don't feel alone, because that's the biggest thing we all are looking for. Humans need connection. So if I can create the connection for you, you're going to look at my company not as it's just a product that I use and it serves its need. You're going to look at my company now as, wow, this is solving
Mhm.
all these other relationship issues that I may have had, business opportunities that I didn't even think about. And you're creating conversations that no one at the first glance was thinking they were going to have, that you've now surfaced because you've created that community environment.
And at the high level, you're building relationships with people. And I love the idea of, like, to me, it comes back to the idea of the intention behind the community. Is it simply another funnel where people are swimming at the top and your whole sole purpose is to get them all the way down to, desire and conversion? Or are you okay if they always just keep on swimming in the middle of an awareness, but they're getting a whole lot of other stuff out of it? Right. And I think that's where the intention of what you want a community to do changes between transactional transactional sales or marketing tactic and actually authentically wanting to build relationships with the community of users, for example, that will increase retention and increase referrals and allow them to do the same with each other.
And your last piece there, the referrals, that's a key piece. If I can turn all my customers into advocates, into this isn't just a great product that serves my needs, but also a
Mhm.
great product that you have to be part of this product because of all the resources, all the knowledge, all the connections I've made in their community, in their trainings and so forth. They're now your biggest advocate, which goes to, and I know we've talked offline about this, but like the customer experience is huge. So if I can now create a better customer experience, that's only going to drive more revenue, more brand awareness, more know, like, and trust. We like these people. We're going to do business with these people because they care about us.
And again, to just weave the AI piece in here, those things are more important now as AI is disrupting and going to make so many things the same. Right? If you are if you are differentiated by the level of humanism you add to your business, you actually will stand out. And I think this is a good time to ask for a little piece of advice. This might be loaded. So, we're selling this idea of, like, go create a community. And so there's got to be somebody out there who's listening who's going, this is a good idea. How the heck do I do that? So, Greg, how the heck do we do it?
I'm gonna give my 2 cents on it. In the sense that I know there's so many different ways you can go ahead and create a community. There's platforms out there. As I said, I built mine in Slack because that's where I live. As I've learned, you're never gonna appease everyone. I get this all the time. Greg, why aren't you building this in Discord? Why aren't you building this in Mighty Network? Why aren't you building this school? Whatever it may be, take your pick. You're not going to appease everyone. They're
No.
all platforms that we all have issues with. That's just software as a whole. So have an understanding in what your strategy is. That's how do I begin? What is the strategy? What am I trying to accomplish? Why am I actually bringing people together? For me, when I came to rss.com, I'm like, you guys, first thing we're going to do is build a community so that we can actually start talking to them. Because you don't send the emails, whatever emails you're sending.
Revolutionary. Let's talk to our customers.
But there's let's pick up the phone and talk to them, or let's put them in a
Yeah.
place where you get to see them talking to each other.
Yeah.
And you start surfacing conversations that you didn't have control. And like we can look at it, and I cut myself off control over. You have to remove that essence of control. There's some control that you have, but if you're bringing people in, you quote unquote have
Mhm.
trolls, but they're all your customers. So even if they're providing you product feedback, at least the way I've built my community, it's they're already existing customers. The feedback they're giving you are people that want to use your product, that want to make it better. Why wouldn't you want to have that direct feedback? And I've learned working for product as a salesperson, if a customer's telling me, and I think of it as a complaint, but my product team is going, wow, this is genius. I didn't think about that. That's great stuff that we can go ahead and use. So I've
Mhm.
come to realize what I may think is a quote unquote diss, if you want. Product is looking at it as this opportunity. So everything that you can get from your customers when you bring them together and humanize that experience, you can't beat that. So when you're starting a community, understand what is the strategy that you are trying to go with.
Yes.
Is it a funnel? Are you trying to get people to sell? But in my case, bring your customers together. I think, what is it? We know Alyssa, one of the things I believe that she did was create a community for just the guests on her podcast, because, hey, why would I want all these amazing people that are on my
Uh-huh.
podcast to come into a place and meet each other and then speak highly about me because they were on my podcast? But also, maybe there's opportunities, maybe there's collaboration. If you can be the catalyst of not just bringing information, in the case that you're doing, Angie, to people through your podcast, but also through a community of only the guests because you've hand selected these people, I mean,
Mm.
that only elevates your power, your know, like, and trust, and your opportunity to spread your message even more.
Okay, now I have a genius idea. Also, you all met Alyssa recently. She was a guest on No More Mondays, thanks to Greg's introduction, because she is the maybe 2/3 of my age blonde doppelganger with a podcast called Taking Back Mondays. So as soon as Greg and I met, he was like, "You need to meet Alyssa." And I think that's actually a really cool idea, because one of the things I say all the time, just anecdotally, is the community is one of my favorite aspects of podcasting, because it's been able to get me into conversation and community with people I probably wouldn't have had a reason to engage with otherwise. And so, that's just another example of everything we're talking about around plugging yourself in, surrounding yourself, or creating the kind of community that is where you want to be. And so, Greg, here comes another maybe loaded question, because we've talked a lot about how much we each love humans. And so I can't sit here and talk about AI and communities if I don't ask you about you and your human. And so I'm curious, like, I know you've done a bunch of growth work. You mentioned therapy earlier, so I don't even have to bring that to the table. But, in all of your growth work and in all of this building communities, what have you learned about yourself, and what surprised you in that exploration?
I guess it goes back to the therapy conversation. It's how do you balance the short-term needs, especially from whether you're running your own company, you are your own worst critic, and you can always be doing more, to working for someone else who's, how do I earn my paycheck and how do I make sure I hit my metrics type deal, to the long-term, what is core to who I am. And I'd say part of it is I am my own boss, Time and Relationships LLC, while also working for a podcast company, RSS.com. So there's a duality there, but that's what I love. To your point about podcasting, what I love about podcasting is it's community driven. So I have a background in partnerships, and now I've fallen into podcasting. Both are community driven, because in partnerships, you basically go, hey, Angie, this is what I do. This is what I know. What I know of what I think you do. I think there's a there. We should talk. And most partnership people are like, yeah, let's get together, because even if we're not together, or it's a right fit, I probably know other people I'm going to introduce you to, because most partnership people are the, no offense, but the redheaded stepchild of the family. And
Who get it?
so
Who get everything we've just talked about? Yeah.
exactly. And then community within podcasting, everyone complains, and the statistics, there's call it just under 400,000 active podcasts, and it's podcasting is this popular term right now, so everyone thinks, oh, I can't start a podcast. The great thing about the podcast community is we are all here to lift each other up. We're all just trying to figure it out. No one knows everything about social, about publishing, and everything else that's out there. So it really becomes this amazing piece that I've learned about myself is find your people, find a community that fits with what your essence is. My essence is life is about time and relationships. I get to work in a podcast area where your day-to-day job is not the No More Mondays. Alyssa's day-to-day job is forget what is it? Forget the
She's a
Sunday
CEO.
scares.
Oh, take back Mondays.
Take Back Mondays. Right? So like each person that's doing a podcast, that is a channel for them, that is a medium for them. And I literally get to spend my time talking to you, not just on this podcast about podcasting, consulting you on podcasting, but hey, let's talk about your day job and that component. That has been the biggest thing I've learned through all of this about find something that feels right, and you can actually make money. You can make a career. But it took the 20 years of the
Mm-hmm.
unhappiness, the I'm just doing this for the paycheck. I'm doing this because I don't know what else to do. And if we pull this thread, that's where we have to keep doing. You don't know where these relationships will go. We don't know where the skill sets from 22 Greg to 42 version Greg. I can just follow the line, and ultimately I understood that the line was people and connections and
Yep.
relationships.
Yeah. And that's what I think is so interesting when I talk to somebody who's like, I'd really love to do X, or people don't know what to do with me because I've got this unique, mix of experience. And I'm like, oh, there's somebody out there who knows exactly what to do with you. You just need to be visible and aware of it. And community is exactly the way to do it. There you go. All right. So speaking of communities, how do people get into yours? How do we find you? How do we stay in touch with all of your great life and work wisdom, podcast knowledge, and all the things?
Uh, I'm also the person who say as I do, don't do as I don't. What is it? I screwed that one up. Say
Do
do
as
as
I
I
say,
say,
not
yeah, not as I do. Because I don't have a podcast, and we can go down that path. I don't have a website. I live on LinkedIn, even though I've lost 2 jobs because social media changed their algorithms, and there went our company's revenue. But I live on LinkedIn. That's where I post my content. If you're thinking about a podcast, amazing. RSS.com is where I work. It's the community I run there, as well as everything else with inside relationships for the company. But yeah, I love to talk to people. I'm an open door. I'm also an open book. So please reach out. And that also becomes the greatest gift you can give to Angie, which most people don't realize. As those of us that are in podcasting, we feel like we're speaking to a void. Like, who's listening to me? From an analytics standpoint, we don't really get an understanding of who the downloads are. We don't understand who the
mm,
individual is. So nothing's better than someone reaching out to Angie and go, "Hey, Angie, I really love this episode. Trust me, you will make her day." She's not going to try and sell you because of it. She's just going to go like, "Thank you. You
thanks. You made my
validated
day.
it. You made my day." And the same is when someone reaches out and said, "Hey, Greg, I heard you on Angie's show
Yes.
X, Y, and Z." I'm going to probably use that as a piece of content to validate that relationships matter. B, send that back to Angie and go, "Hey, Angie, here's what so-and-so said. You actually didn't know they listened to your show, but they did. And they liked it, or at least what I had to say. I can't speak for you in that regards, but hey, they toned in for you, right?"
Well, and for all content creators out there, I think Greg and I can say that universally, it is a tough, sometimes seemingly thankless job because we don't get the amount of feedback that is proportional to the amount of work we put in, and so we just have to trust that we are making a difference. And I know I can completely agree with you that I send out the Sunday Scaries emails, and somebody responds, and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, this is exactly what I needed to hear this week," and it's like, okay, that just made 12 other editions of the podcast or the newsletter completely worth the time. And so I think that that's just to me, that's an exclamation point on this entire conversation around be a human in community with humans and treat others with the love, respect, and humanism that you want to be treated with. And isn't that a lesson that we could escalate to a macro level? But we will leave that for another day, because what I want to make sure all of you heard from this conversation is that relationships are strategy. They're also what makes the world go around. So, Greg, I love that you were here to remind all of us that every deal, every job, every idea has a person behind it. And showing up with curiosity can really open doors you never imagined. 20-year-old Greg would never imagine he is where he is right now. And I think I could say the same thing for that former engineer who loves people. So, as we wrap things up, Greg, I'm going to ask you one more question. And that is another kind of self-reflect. You told me before we started recording that you like self-reflection. So I'm going to just make you do it in front of a live studio audience. Through the transformation that you've had, both yourself and with finding work that's really satisfying, I want to know kind of a belief that you have adopted that's helped you build this a life and career rooted in connection.
Say yes. I mean, since we're tail end, I won't go into like deeper details because that is a completely different episode, or we'll just continue going,
That'll be
right?
2.0.
Right. But I've learned growth mindset, saying yes is a key piece. And I'll leave it with this. When I was unemployed at the time and I was given the opportunity to go work for a bootstrap startup, Cast Magic, while the salary wasn't there, they're like, Greg, we can't pay you. And I'm like, well, the alternative is keep trying to find a job that will pay me what I'm worth, or I can have this opportunity, this experience, and this door opening to take this and go. And I can't speak to anyone else's financial situation, but at least I was financially secure to be able to take this and say, you know what? I can afford doing this and learn from it. It's like basically taking that internship where most people are afraid to do. If you can get paid, or the opportunity, if we can think about AI, if you have the opportunity in this AI world to learn skills that you can use later on, say yes. Too often we are so afraid to say yes to things because it's not that it doesn't feel right. It's the level of discomfort that we
Yes.
aren't willing to lean into because we're used to the comfort. So if we say yes to things, you will continue to grow. And if you can grow 1% every day, by the end of a year, it's 38 times better than you were on day one. Say yes more, and you will actually find yourself. Now, from a therapy, since we touched on this, there is also value in saying no. So
Yeah,
not
I was
being
thinking
right.
there is the other side of the coin. However, I believe message has. I'm gonna wrap that into a nutshell of like, take a chance on yourself. Right? We all know the cliche that growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone, but we all love to stay in the comfort zone and expect growth is going to happen. And that's where saying yes and kind of betting on yourself comes in to play. And that is the yes that Greg is talking about.
There you go.
I love it. You all see why Greg and I were like Insta friends, because, similar to my perspective, we're in this world of AI, ghosting, digital everything. It turns out that connections are where it's at. And my little hashtag that I like to use everywhere on LinkedIn, humans still matter. So I'm going to challenge all of you out there this week to act like humans still matter. Send a warm introduction. Think about 2 people in your network who need to know each other and play matchmaker. You never know where it'll lead for them, and you never know where it'll lead for you. And if it feels really good, do it again next week. How's that? This has been an amazing episode of No More Mondays. Greg Wasserman, thank you so much for joining me, being vulnerable, being curious, and proving yet again that a good network can take you just about anywhere. I appreciate you and your time.
Thank you. Likewise.
Don't forget to catch our Wednesday mini drop, Midweek Momentum. It comes out on Wednesday afternoons at 2 p.m. And I will see you next Monday morning for another edition of No More Mondays podcast. Be human, everybody.